Welcome to the Alchemist Nation Podcast. We are a community of business and real estate professionals who are on a shared mission to help every individual achieve financial freedom through right action, the right knowledge, and the right accountability. Join me, Andrew McMurray, and my co-host, Mitch Jaworski, as we find and interview those who have mastered wealth and who have a desire to share their wisdom with you. Enjoy.
Welcome back. We are here again on the Alchemist Nation Podcast. And as usual, I'm your host, Mitch Jaworski, and I got my co-host here, Andrew McMurray. What's going on, Andrew?
What's up, Mitch? What's up, Larry? It's great to have you guys on the podcast.
Yes, we got our guest. This show is Larry Steinhouse, the CEO of the Investor Schooling. And Larry doesn't like to use money to buy houses. He likes to buy properties, without using any of his own money, which is pretty cool. So he's going to talk to us a bit about that, amongst many other things. So Larry, thank you so much for joining us. And to start, I know that me and Andrew both kind of want to hear about how you got started in real estate and really, what got you and led you to where you are now doing what you do.
Well, first of all, I got a question for you. Andrew. If you had $1 million in the bank, how many houses can you buy?
If I have $1 million in the bank, how many houses can I buy?
Yeah.
It's a trick question because you're talking about buying money with no money down. So probably I can buy an infinite amount of properties, as many as are on the planet, theoretically.
Right. And still have the $1 million.
Still have the million.
Right. And that's
I would
the
love
key.
to learn how.
That's the key. The key is you never need money to buy a house. In fact, when I go to buy a house, when I go to closing, if I go with $500 to closing, I feel like a failure. And it's the truth. Most of the time, I actually get money back now, which is fun. Really a lot of fun. I think I was on the podcast the other day. I was on Galter's webinar the other day when I told a story about a building I bought, which is a warehouse, because I have a bunch of cars. Like I have some really fun cars, like a Model T, and I have a 1979 MGB and a Thunderbird, and I have a Shelby Mustang, and I have a bunch of other cars too, but I don't have the room for these cars at my house because I only have a 2-car garage. So I had to find a place for these cars. So I find this warehouse for sale, and I negotiate with the seller $400,000 for the warehouse. Now the warehouse has a back section, which is where I would keep my cars, or where I keep my cars now, and the front section is rented out to a contractor. So he wants $400,000 for the building. I talk him into $200,000 seller financing, so I got to come up with how much.
How much do you need? 20%, right? Or you need nothing. I
need another $200,000, right?
Yes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That's all right. I know math is difficult when you're starting out in real estate. That's where most people make their mistakes. I'm just messing with you. But I actually needed more than $200,000, didn't I? Because I need closing costs, right?
Right.
So let's just make it easy. Let's just make it, 12% closing costs. So I really need another 2,000. I'm sorry, not 6% closing costs. I really need another 215,000 what I really need. So I end up borrowing $225,000 from a private lender. So now I got $225,000 from the private lender. I got $200,000 from the seller. I actually leave closing with a check for $13,788. And remember, this is the place that I want to keep my cars, right? So if you had, half a dozen cars and you had to go find a warehouse for them, you'd probably be paying somewhere about $300 a month per car. The thing is that I had the front of this building rented out to a contractor who pays me more than my mortgage payment, more than my expenses by about $200. So I make $200 a month. I got $13,788, and I got a place to put my cars.
Wins.
How many of those deals do you want to do, Andrew? Yeah, how many of those deals do you want to do out there? All of them, exactly. And that's what I do. That's what I teach. This is what I do. And it all started out because, so one of the questions you would ask me earlier was, hey, how did I get my start in real estate? So my start in real estate happened when I was 18 years old. When I was 18 years old, I was working for a company. Most people don't even know it anymore, a company called Crazy Eddie. And if you knew what it was,
I know it.
You know it. Yeah,
I remember Crazy Eddie. I remember those commercials.
Exactly right. So, by the way, I am now known as the Crazy Real Estate Investor, and it's very funny. We're doing this whole ad campaign for investor schooling about the Crazy Real Estate Investor. So take a look and look for it because I'm channeling the
That's
crazy
going to be
commercials.
entertaining. I hope I
Yeah,
hear that crazy Eddie tagline at the end.
No, it's even better. It's not, but you'll see. You'll see.
All right,
It's
cool.
actually really well done. We did the first one the other day. My new marketing director said, "Let's do it." I'm like, "All right, let's go for it." So anyway, so
Nice.
I'm 18 years old. I'm working at Crazy Eddie's, and I'm making $5 an hour. Right, $5 an hour. And at that time, that was more than minimum wage. Believe it or not, that's how long ago that was. Man, am I fucking old? Anyway, there's a guy that I'm working with, and I'm a technician there. I'm repairing, car stereos and TVs and VCRs, and the head technician there was a guy who was buying properties in a place called Belmore, New Jersey. He was buying properties, fixing them up, and renting them. And I'm listening to these stories, and I would go see him every once in a while. And I'm like, he was like 30-something years old, and I'm 18 years old, and I'm thinking, if he could do that, I could do that. So one day I'm actually at the gym, which you could tell I haven't been there in a while. I'm at the gym, and I'm on one of those bicycles, stationary bicycle. And now, Andrew, do you ever work out?
I do. Not as consistently as I should.
That's okay, but you ever go on a stationary bicycle or a treadmill?
Yeah, I prefer a little row machine, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. So row machine's a little bit different, but if you're on a treadmill or anything else, right, what do you do to entertain yourself?
Get lost in my head.
Well, that's good. A lot of people can't do that. I'm definitely one of those people who can't do it. But most people take out their iPad or their iPhone and or watch TV, right? So at that time, they didn't have that stuff. They had TVs, but they didn't have them in gyms. And they had, so you didn't have an iPhone, you have an iPad. So you typically brought something called a book. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but there's like this paperbound thing.
Okay, I've heard of those before.
Yeah, you go right. Most, all reading
Just
material
look like
now
marble.
yeah, right. So I forgot to bring my book. And I go to the front of the gym, and used to be these books called the real estate book, because they didn't have the MLS. They didn't have it online because it didn't exist then. Online didn't exist then. And I had these books called the real estate book, and all the listings were in the real estate book. And I grabbed the book and I started looking through it. And I find this property in Easton, Pennsylvania. Now, where I was living somewhere near Princeton. And if anybody's watching and they know the difference between Easton, Pennsylvania and Princeton, New Jersey, it's about an hour and a half away. But I called a real estate agent. I find this property in Easton, Pennsylvania. It's a 2-family house. It's selling for $26,500. And I called a real estate agent and I say, hey, I'm interested in this property. Remember, I'm 18 years old, right? I'm making $5 an hour. Mm-hmm. I go out, I see the property, and she goes, what do you think? I go, I'll take it. And she goes, great. Can you give me a check for $500 for a deposit? And I looked at her and I said, I don't have $500. And she said, well, can you give me a check for $100? I was too embarrassed to tell her I didn't have $100. But I did write the check for $100 and I handed it to her. So, about a month later, I ended up closing on this house. And I'll tell you in a little while how I did it, but I ended up closing on this house. And the biggest mistake I made was a year later, I sold this house for a 50% profit. Do you know why that was the biggest mistake I made? Because at that time, it was making $200 a month positive cash flow. And if I kept that property till now, that property is probably worth around $250,000, $300,000. And on top of that, the cash flow would probably be somewhere near $2,200, maybe $2,500 a month. So that was why it was the biggest mistake. Now, I didn't quite realize that at the time, but I realized that as I got older. So the question is, how did I acquire that property? I took it out on loan. I had no idea what kind of loan it was from a bank. And I needed to come up with some money, which was about $3,600. And I ended up finding that money on my credit cards. So I ended up buying that house. I didn't even know it, but I ended up buying the house with no money out of my pocket. I just didn't know that I did it. Well, time went by. I was buying other properties. I was buying them all traditional. I would put the typical 10 or 20% down, whatever. And I'm buying them all through about 2006. Now, I was doing really well up until 2006 in real estate. You know why? Because I was steady and I was buying and hold. And I was saying, hey, if it didn't have at least $200 a month positive cash flow, I'm not buying it. I want to make sure it's a good property and I'm paying the right price for it. Well, in 2006, Mitch, you might remember, Andrew, you look too young, but 2006, all of a sudden, property values went nuts.
Yep.
And people were buying properties like for $100,000, and the next day they were worth $150,000, or so it seemed. So I had a really good, making profit strategy up until 2006. And in 2006, I decided to change my strategy to something called the stupid and greedy strategy. And then
Perfectly named.
exactly. And the stupid and greedy strategy is just like if you buy Bitcoin and you keep buying it and keep buying it and hoping that it keeps going up, and it just doesn't. I didn't actually pick on you intentionally. I just used that as the example.
I like it.
So I started buying houses that were overpriced. Not enough money to pay the rent. And one day, 2008, at that point I had $3.9 million worth of properties, and I owed $3 million on it. Not bad, right? But it seemed like overnight that 3.9 million was worth 2.5.
No bueno.
Then all of a sudden the tenants that weren't making, I wasn't making enough money to pay the rent anyway, but all of a sudden the tenants started leaving, and it was the first time I ever saw in my life that rents actually went down about 20%, which was insane.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I'm making less and less and less money, and I realized I can't maintain this anymore. I'm not collecting enough money to pay these mortgage payments anymore. So I decided the only thing I could do was go bankrupt. So I ended up going to an attorney, and I tell him the situation, and he says, "Well, what's your credit score?" And I said 740. He goes, "No one goes bankrupt with a 740 credit score." And he goes, and I go, "I will." And he goes, "Wait, let me see these numbers." So we go through the numbers. He goes, "Oh, now I see your problem." So I ended up actually filing for bankruptcy. Now, at the time, there were so many bankruptcies. It was amazing. There were so many bankruptcies that they weren't even held in courthouses anymore. They were now held in hotel conference centers. And it was like a typical conference center room, and the trustee would be in the front, and I would be facing the trustee. All these people would be behind me. All the people filling in would be behind me. Now I was the first case, and I'm the first case. So I'm at 9:00 in the morning. Most of the other people haven't arrived yet because their cases were coming in after, so they were starting to arrive afterwards. Now, because I'm facing the trustee. My attorney's to the right of me, and she's asked me a bunch of questions. The stack of paper was like this big because there was so much information, so many properties, so many things involved. And she keeps asking me questions. And at one point I turned around and the room was filling up, and everybody had the same expression on their face. And they were like this. Ooh, ooh. Now, I knew that at that moment, it was the greatest moment of my life, because we live in a country that allows you to make really stupid mistakes like the ones I made and let you start all over again.
Mm.
So I decided that very next day, leaving that bankruptcy court, that I was going to start over again and I was going to do it right. So I immediately went to a car dealer and bought a car. Now, the funny part is the guy's like, I go to a car dealer, I'm talking to the salesman, and it wasn't a new car, it was a used car. And I'm talking to the salesman, I go, "Yeah, that's the one. I really want this one. This is great." And he takes me and he's like all excited because he's making a sale, right? He takes me into the finance desk, which they do next, because now the finance guy has to sell you all that crap and, whatever. And he goes, everybody's all smiles and happy. And he starts typing in, taking the application. And he goes, and he literally looks at the screen like this. He goes, "Sir, your credit score is 420. I go, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "Well, I could get you a loan, but it's going to be like 26% interest." And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." And he goes, "Why would you do that?" And I go, "Because from this day on, I'm going to rebuild my credit, and you're going to help me with it right now." And he was nuts. He thought I was nuts. So I bought the car. I actually paid it off in a year. And it wasn't too many years later, and a bunch of stuff happened in between, but it wasn't too many years later that maybe it was 7 or 8 years later that I bought a brand new Corvette Z06, 3.5% interest, zero money out of my pocket, $110,000 car. So obviously what I did some things right, but along that way, I learned a bunch of things. However, I still want to buy real estate.
Yep.
So I learned how to buy. So what did I have? I had no credit, right? I had no money. I went bankrupt. I had no credit, I had no money. I just had enough money pretty much to pay my rent at the time. So I decided that I was going to start buying real estate again. And I learned a technique called subject to, which is taking over people's mortgage payments, not taking over their mortgages, but taking over their payments. And I came across my first subject to deal, and it was a fantastic deal. It was just one of those things where it made total sense. And I ended up acquiring a property that had 2-family house and a pizzeria. So it was a commercial property, 2-family house and a pizzeria. And I acquired that property for $1,724 out of my pocket. Then I realized that I could do this, and I could do it over and over again. And I could also buy other properties with other people's money. And buying properties with other people's money is so easy that it's scary. You know what I have right now? I have all the money in the world to buy any property out there that's for sale. You know what my problem is?
Not enough deals.
Not enough deals. That's it.
Why
That's
is that?
generally always the problem.
That's always the
Finding
problem.
deals that work. So before, like, because I'm sure we're going to dive a little further into subject two. But the journey you just went through, there were some key points that people may not have realized you shared. And one of them was earlier when you talked about like that first property you bought, and the fact that the mistake was selling it, and you talked about how much it would be cash flowing at this point. And I don't think people realize, like, when you buy a property as a rental, that first 1 or 2 years is actually your worst performing years.
That's correct.
Because,
that's correct. Yeah.
As like, your rents are going to go up over time. Obviously 2008 was an aberration, but generally rents don't drastically go down. They go up over time. But what doesn't go up? The cost of your mortgage, right? So you have your biggest expense staying steady while your revenue is increasing every year as the rental market goes up. Therefore, you're building more cash flow, right? So that's how Larry, came up with those numbers, and why, all that time later, it would be cash flowing that much more. And then you get to the point, if you pay off a property with other people's money, the rental income, then it really jumps, because now you don't even have a mortgage payment anymore, right? And then the second point was when he talked about when he went through the bankruptcy, right? The first thing he did was take a step to start rebuilding his credit, because he understands the power of having a good credit score in the United States, right? So that was, most people, they file for bankruptcy and basically they're woe is me for like the next 3 years, and they don't rebuild their credit.
For the next 15.
Exactly.
I have people see me, they're like, I don't have any credit cards. Why? Because they went bankrupt, and I don't want to get any more because I'm afraid I'm going to go bankrupt again.
Nope.
What's the difference? Did it hurt? Did they put you in bankruptcy jail? Who cares?
Yeah, rebuild it.
Hey, Mitch, you ready for this? I have available credit on credit cards right now. Available credit on credit cards, $877,750 available credit on just credit cards.
Yeah. And that goes and see. So let this be a lesson to everyone. Like, you can have a rough patch, you can make a mistake, and you can still rebuild your credit, because that's the way the system is designed in the United States.
Exactly.
So, and these are the two, so those are 2 points I wanted to make sure everyone took away from Larry's story. So now,
I have a question on that first point, right? So if ideally you want to hold the property because the mortgage is going to go down over time, but the cash flow is only going to increase, is there ever an ideal time to exit, or do you just want to organize and collect, like Mitch says?
Here's when you exit. I'm gonna actually describe it in something I teach. So, would you like to leave your kids a legacy?
Correct. Yes.
All right. So what you're thinking I just said is not what I'm going to say, though. But what about Mitch? Do you want to leave your kids a legacy?
I mean, I don't plan on having kids, but I'm going to leave it to somebody.
Okay. So I don't plan on leaving my kids a legacy. I plan on leaving my kids a problem. Here's the problem. What to do with all these properties that are left over when I die?
Yep.
Because I don't know when I'm going to die. I don't care how much I leave them. It could be zero. It could be $25 million. I don't really care. While I'm alive, I'm enjoying the income off of those properties, or if I pull money out of those properties to buy something, I can do that too. All this is mine, right? But I could die tomorrow, and my wife and my kids get some of get some of it, right? And it's theirs. I don't know when that day is. I just know that if I keep these properties forever, I can live a really nice lifestyle until my last day. Here, also, the way I teach ownership of properties, you want to know how many properties I own, Andrew?
How many?
Take a guess.
I know it's a trick question, so I'm trying.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. Maybe I mean I'm going to try to guess a number, but it's not the answer.
I think Larry technically owns 0 properties.
That is correct. I own 0.
You own 0.
Right. I control dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of properties, but I own nothing.
Which is a perfect segue into sub 2.
I don't eat. Well, one has nothing to do with the other, by the way. Although it's better to own a sub 2 property in a trust, but you don't have to.
You were getting at the trust aspect, but you don't. Very smart.
But sub 2 has nothing to do with. I own those properties during a trust. I mean, I don't own them, but they're in a trust. They're still mine.
Yes.
But they're not. But they're not in the seller's name anymore. They're still. They come to me. But real quick, so I don't own any properties. I don't own any cars. How much did I just tell you? I had about a dozen cars. I don't own any of them either. Actually, that's not true. The funny part is I actually own the Model T. It was the weirdest thing. For some reason, I couldn't put the Model T on my business insurance policy. They wouldn't let me do it. They just said no. So I had to actually own the Model T, which is the funniest thing. Out of all my cars, I own the Model T. But it's fine. It doesn't really matter. That I haven't owned a car in so many years. I didn't even know what it was like to see a title with my name on it. But I don't own anything, right? The computer I'm talking to you right now, I don't own that. My company owns it. I don't own anything. By the way, I have, so many computers, so many iPads. If you ever saw my office, it's amazing. We have the top of the line technology when we're teaching real estate. So it's just an amazing place. But I own nothing, not even the properties, but I control them all. I don't even own the house that I live in. So if you did a search on the MLS for me, you would find that I own nothing, which is really great because not only if I ever get in trouble again or if something happens, I own nothing. And basically all you can get out of me is whatever I have in my wallet because I own nothing, right? So right now, if you would assume me, actually, it's not a whole bunch. It's only about, I don't know, what's it? Maybe, maybe $2,000, By the way, you want to do something really good? Always carry at least $500 and $500 bills in your wallet.
At least $500, $501
in $100 bills, right? At least, right?
Okay.
Try to carry more. It's a mindset thing. Here's a funny story about that. It's really, I was had a sweatshirt on, and I put my wallet in my sweatshirt in the front pocket of my sweatshirt, and I'm in my car and I'm driving. I get to the mall because I figured I was going to spend some time going to the mall, maybe go buy something. So I go to get out of the car, and I reach into my pocket. My wallet's not there. I'm like, oh shit, where's my wallet? Now remember, my wallet usually has $2,000 in it, maybe more. So I probably had about $2,000 in it. And I'm like frantic. I'm all upset about losing my wallet. You want to know why I was all upset about losing my wallet?
Is there cash in there?
No, what a fucking pain in the ass it is to get your driver's license redone.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And to call up and cancel the credit card. Can you send me a new card?
That doesn't even. That's nothing. That's easy.
That annoys me.
That's easy. But right. So anywhere that I mention the money?
No. So
you know why?
Mindset come in.
Because $2,000 is fucking chump change.
Mindset.
So,
30,000 is chump change. Actually, I finally made it realize that 1 million is chump change. Every year, not every year, but every once in a while I rose it. And I've gotten to the point where I believe actually $1 million is chump change now.
I love that.
And it's all mindset. It's all mindset. Once you understand that money will flow to you for anything you want, anything you need, not anything you need. Well, anything you need, yes. But anything you want, you really want, if it's up and above what you need. So what you need are basic things. You need housing, you need food, and you need water, right? So money will always come to you for those things. As a matter of fact, we live in a country that makes that happen. What is something, Andrew, I'm going to ask you, I'm actually going to turn this on you for a second. What is something that you really, really want?
What is something that I really, really want? I want for all of humanity to come together under a common cause. That's what I really, really want.
Well,
is that a bad thing? Is that not what I'm supposed to know?
No, it's just
a short version of that.
What can you do? What can you do to make that happen?
What can I do to make that happen?
Yes.
Be the strongest, I would say, support inside of first myself, my own world, my family, and then I can only expand myself going out.
Okay, so you want the people that you know, or do you want the whole world?
Well, I want the whole world.
Okay, so you do understand that there are much more powerful people than you that can't do it.
That can't do it.
Right.
Okay.
I don't care who they are. Okay. And many have tried, and many will, and all of them will fail.
Okay.
And you will fail too. So now let's talk about something material you want before I really get on your case.
Something material I want. Okay.
Mitch is used to me.
Something material. I'll give you something material. I would like a $10 million mansion on the beach somewhere in Miami area.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Stop trying to impress me. You don't want a $10 million mansion on the beach. It would be so freaking nice if I got some weirdo money somewhere that got me a $10 million mansion that I wouldn't even visit. What do you really want?
What do I really want?
Right.
That's an interesting question. Like, I thought that my first answer was the honest answer. It's what it felt like.
I don't feel like that is. In fact, I'm actually surprised. I actually figured you would know this. Think about when we've talked, right? And you talk about like with me, what drives me and what I want, right? And even though it's not completely tangible, it also is. And I talk about the freedom that I've created for myself and how that, like, people can't touch that. If they try and touch it, there's going to be a problem, right? Right. But in order to do that, I needed tangible things like money, right? So
you don't need money.
Wow.
I'm gonna correct you in a second, but let me get to Andrew and I'll get to you on this one. This is gonna turn into a coaching call, but it's gonna be
Maybe
fun.
I just want to feel at peace. Maybe I'm saying the
You want to
world.
feel at peace? All right, good,
I-
perfect. Stop. It's not material, which is what I really something for. But you ready? I can see in your face that you are always at peace.
Okay.
Do you agree?
I- deep down inside, yeah.
Yeah.
There's an observer.
Yeah, I see it. So here's an interesting thing. Stop asking for things that you already have. Start asking for things that you don't have, that you want. Now, you may not want anything. Maybe you just want to. Do you live at home with your folks?
No. Actually, I have to move. I'm moving back to Tampa, so I want an apartment by the end of the month.
So you're in an apartment by the end of the month in Tampa? There you go. That's something. So I would bet you that if you really want it, you'll have an apartment in Tampa by the end of the month.
I will. Yeah.
So there's something, right? Now watch. I'm going to do this to Mitch, but I want you to think about this, Andrew, right? You know why you don't have $1 million right now?
It must be because I haven't wanted it.
No, it's close. Because you wouldn't know what to do with $1 million.
That's probably way more accurate. Yeah.
Right. And most people that point, they go, I'd find something I know I'd be able. No. Because if you had something to do with $1 million, you would have that $1 million. That's the wildest thing. Anything you want, you can have. Money is the easiest thing to get. So anything you want, the money that what you want will come to you out of the craziest places.
Interesting. You know what? It might be because of my own lack in faith of my like financial blueprint. Like I think if a bunch of money comes through to me, I'll probably leak it out. You know, I won't use it as wisely as I can. So I need to know how to use money first before I can get some.
You don't need to know how to use money first. You just need to change some simple habits. You ready? I'm going to give you something to do.
Okay.
All right. I'm assuming you work somewhere?
Yeah, well, I'm working for Alchemist Nation full time.
Okay, good. So they must pay you something, at least $10, right?
Correct.
Okay. So this is what I want you to do. Every time you get paid, I want you to take 10% of that check, whatever it is, and put it into a bank account.
A do not touch.
Yeah. And you know why?
Why?
Because like people like Dave Ramsey will say, build a nest egg, build a what the hell, emergency fund. No, I want you to get into the habit of putting money somewhere else. I want you to get in the habit of paying yourself first. Don't even worry about what you're going to do with that. Because in about a year or so, we're going to figure out what you're going to do with it. It doesn't matter. But I want you to get into the habit of doing it. And you watch how quickly your financial mindset will change. It'll change. Hey, Mitch,
Yo,
what do you want?
exactly what I have now, just with twice as much passive income.
Oh, come on. So
Yeah.
I don't know what your passive income is, but let's say it's $20,000 a month, right?
Okay.
So what are you going to do with the extra 20?
Not have to think about doing things. Like if my wealthy friends say, hey, we're gonna go to whatever, the 10X convention and get platinum tickets for $25K, like, all right, sounds good.
All right.
Like,
I already know that if you want to, what was it? Did you say tennis?
no, 10X.
Oh, 10X. So
Like
you
I
want
was
to
just
go
using
to,
an example of
you
like
want to go to 10X? You want to
Not
go
really.
for 25,000?
I basically want to not have to think about like the frivolous stuff.
It's all frivolous stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Anything past food,
yeah,
shelter,
exactly.
and water. It's all frivolous stuff. So you never have to worry about it.
The next level of frivolous, I guess.
What's the next level to you?
Things? I'll give you a case in point.
Give me one thing in specific that you want.
Oh, I give you. I say it's my brother's. So my brother's a car guy, and I always tell him, I'm like, I know this car is a piece of crap, but it looks so sexy. So if you ever see me driving one, you'll know that I just don't care about money at all at that point.
What is it?
And that is a Range Rover.
Which one do you want?
I don't even know specifically.
Okay, so I know it has a Range Rover, but I didn't even look at Range Rovers to know which one I want. That's why I don't have it.
Yeah, because I guess in the end I don't really want one. I just call that I don't give a F about money.
Exactly.
One.
So you don't really want it.
Yeah, it's true.
So you have all the money you need right now to do everything you want. That's
oh,
why you don't have any more
100%.
money.
You are correct. I've been
That's why you
preaching
don't have
this
any
to
more money.
people all year. If anything, it's funny, Larry. It's funny you bring this up because if anything, I feel almost like peer pressure from other wealthy friends to do more, make more. And I'm like, why? I love my life. Stop messing with my life.
Do you know what's funny that you say that? I actually have a different peer pressure. Like guys like Bill Allen and Galter, right? What their life is like. Oh, they go to Disney World, Galt is working out every day, and he's got his beautiful girlfriend. I mean, I have a beautiful wife too, but the idea is like you always see these guys out and about, right? Where will you find me? You'll find me in the offices of Investor Schooling. So I work probably 80 hours a week. That's not true. I lied. I come in my office maybe 80 hours a week. I probably work 20 of those hours. I like it here.
Yeah.
And, the peer pressure I get is you should spend more time with your family. You should spend more time with your kids, with your granddaughter, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I come here. I like it. I look at my stocks on the board over here and I talk to people like you online. So that's why I'm here, And it's the weirdest thing because that's exactly right. Stop trying to impress other people, but you're not even impressing them. They don't even care. You're trying to impress yourself by trying to impress them. Just do what you want. Do what you enjoy. I mean, my goal is to build Investor Schooling into something huge, right? Because actually Galter and I have very similar goals. I want to take people and I want to take them like Andrew. I want to turn this guy into a millionaire. It's so easy to turn him into a millionaire because I could turn you into a millionaire in you ready? In 60 seconds, I'm going to make you a millionaire. Would you like to be a millionaire in 60 seconds?
Yes, sir.
All right, you ready? Everybody out there who's watching this, I am going to make you a millionaire in 60 seconds. No joke. It's a millionaire in 60 seconds. This is what I want you to imagine, Andrew. All right. I want you to imagine that last week you bought a lottery ticket. You don't have to close your eyes. What do you think this is? Freaking, Doug McGurk? I don't need you to close your eyes. Doug McGurk will make you close your eyes.
The eyelids make a
Just listen. Just listen.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right. About a week ago, you bought a lottery ticket.
Okay.
And it was $1 million lottery ticket, right? And you always play these numbers. Always playing these numbers. Yeah. And 2 days ago, you grabbed the lottery ticket. The numbers were pulled. They were pulled. You were like, freaking, holy crap, I just won $1 million. Exactly $1 million tax-free. Exactly $1 million tax-free. This is what this lottery ticket said, right? You had the lottery ticket. You went to the lottery commission, and you got the $1 million check from them. Mm-hmm. Now, you were so freaking excited. You were like, you just like, who wouldn't be excited, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
And on the way home, you went to every freaking bar on the way home. Mm-hmm. But before you went home, after you were so freaking trashed, you walked into the bank. You go, hi, I got this check for, it's got a lot of zeros in it, $1 million, $1 million. And I want to put it in your bank. And they do all the paperwork. You hand them a check, right? You're like, yes. And you go home and you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning with the worst hangover you ever had. And you forgot what bank you put this $1 million in.
Uh-huh.
Are you a millionaire?
Yeah.
Now, I want you to act like a millionaire because you're a millionaire. You just got to search for the bank for the next couple of years till you find it.
I like that. I'm already a millionaire. I just forgot where I put my fucking money.
Gotta go find the money, Andrew.
It's so simple.
It's already
right?
there.
So now when a deal comes along and somebody says, hey, I got this $400,000 building. You can buy it. It's worth $600,000. You can buy it for $400,000 right now. Now, you don't know what $1 million is, but you know you have it, right? So you have full confidence. So can you go to Mitch and go, hey, Mitch, I got this building that's worth $600,000. I need $400,000 to buy it. And by the way, I have $1 million somewhere. You gonna feel confident about borrowing money from Mitch?
I'll feel confident about borrowing money.
Right. Yeah. But right now, if you didn't have that $1 million, you wouldn't feel confident, right?
Right.
Because your mindset's screwed up. Mm-hmm. So for now on, I want you to think about this $1 million lottery ticket that you won, and you deposit it in the bank. I don't know. Maybe you deposited it in the back room of the bar. Maybe they had a bank there. Who knows? But you have this $1 million. It's yours. So stop thinking you're not a millionaire. You're automatically a millionaire. Did I say I'd make you a millionaire in 60 seconds?
Mm.
Now, for those who are watching and you're skeptical, that's your problem. You want to stay skeptical? Go ahead. But I'm telling you right now, I have $100 million in the bank in one bank that I can't find it. I forgot what bank I put this $100 million in. But I don't really care. Because I'll just keep buying properties without any of my own money. And one day I'll find this $100 million and maybe I'll pay those loans back, or maybe I won't. Who cares? I wasn't using $100 million anyway.
Larry, I want to ask, because clearly you've developed, or maybe you always had it, like a very strong self-confidence and like you have powerful faith, right? Like, because not everybody can go through, like, you've been very, very successful and you lost everything, had to go bankrupt, and then bounce back to very, very successful. Like, where does your faith lie? Like, what are these foundational like beliefs that you have that allow you to just be like, believe you already and live from the end so powerfully, I guess?
That's such a good question. I'm not even sure if I can answer it.
Okay.
But I will tell you that manifesting anything is things I've done since I can remember when I was a kid. And I just didn't know I was doing it. And then I started reading Think and Grow Rich. So first of all, if you've never read Think and Grow Rich, you have to read Think and Grow Rich. 100%. And if you read Think and Grow Rich, you have to read it a minimum of 3 times. My suggestion is read it 10 times. I've read it dozens of times. Or I've listened to it or read it, listened to it, read it, listened to it, read it. It's an amazing book. And once you start to get it, you actually start to get into Napoleon Hill's head. And when you're in Napoleon Hill's head, he's in your head. And manifesting things will be amazing. I got another exercise for you to prove to you that anything, and I mean anything in the world, is yours. I know the exact date the world was created.
Oh, yeah?
Exact.
What?
November 27th, 1963.
Right.
The world was created November 27th, 1963. There is no doubt. You can't argue with me. That was the day the world was created. Yeah. Right? So when was the world created for you?
July 26, 1995.
Beautiful. You ever hear the expression that somebody says to you, "Oh, that guy thinks the world revolves around him"? What do you think of that? What do you think of that expression?
No, I think it's ignorant to think that. Like, what you're saying is so powerfully strong. I think a long time ago I had to realize there's a chance that like this is all just happening in my brain. It's a story in my brain. I have to be okay with I might be the center of existence.
You are the center of existence.
Right. Well, right.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Right.
You ready for this? Right. But let's talk about this. You ever hear the expression, the world revolves? He thinks the world revolves around him, right? Are you in a rotating chair?
I am.
Can you rotate?
Yeah.
All the way around? Go, rotate all around. Okay, keep coming. Here you go. Come back. Okay, now come back. Now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did the world just revolve around you?
That was my experience of it.
Yes. So, given these 2 pieces of information, the world was created the day you were born, and the world revolves around you. You can have anything you want.
That's dangerous information. I love that.
It's the truth. Now you're a millionaire. The world revolves around you, and the world was created the day you were born. What more information do you need to know that you are going to be the most successful person you want to be? Not can be, want to be. Because you can be anything. It's until you want to be it that you're going to be it.
Good point.
You want to know? I'm blowing your mind. I know that, Andrew. But you know whose mind I'm really blowing? Mitch's.
No, I'm actually, what's what I'm looking for? I'm very intrigued by Andrew's reactions to these things. And I'm also like, because you're storytelling, right? And you're also giving these examples with Andrew, and you're teaching the principles of Think and Grow Rich, which you mentioned earlier. And I don't know if like people realize that's what's happening, right? Because like I'm literally just thinking about sayings in the book, and I'm thinking about things like, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And like basically by doing these practices, you're making Andrew conceive an idea, believe it, and then next is basically achieving it because it already exists.
That's exactly true. Are you a millionaire, Andrew?
I am.
You just can't remember where you put the money.
Gotta go find it. I don't know. I
Isn't
do
that
that.
funny?
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Makes a ton of sense, because
of course
you're literally putting the belief in your head that is what you want, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm a millionaire, I just gotta go find it. So what are you saying to yourself all the time? I'm a millionaire.
I'm a millionaire.
As opposed to what? Oh, I want to be a millionaire. Oh, I'm gonna try and be a millionaire. If you say try, want, you're like, no, you are. I am.
You are.
Wow. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, man. I'm looking forward to seeing
so much self-confidence.
I'm looking forward to seeing your success. That's actually what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's already here. You get to witness it, I suppose, as I go find it.
Absolutely.
Yes. Let us know when you find the money.
So investor schooling actually came. I wrote my first book, and my first book was called If I Won $25 Million in the Lottery. How funny is that, right? So this book was all about what I would do if I won $25 million in the lottery. And in the book, I also talk about the fact that I'm going to win the $25 million until the very last page when I go, you know what? I don't need to win the $25 million. I'll just get it. So this book was written, actually, it was written in 2009, the year after my bankruptcy. And I wrote how I was going to become a millionaire again. I didn't write, like people write the story, oh, I went bankrupt. Let me tell you what happened to me. I wrote the story of how I was going to become a millionaire again. Now, I haven't read the book in a long time, but one of my students read the book and she came to me and she goes, Larry, I read this book, and in 2009, you predicted everything you were going to do, and you did it, except for one thing. And I said, what was that? She goes, you didn't buy the boat. So everything, everything, including I don't have my Rolex on today, but including my Rolex watch, the house I was living in, everything, right, was outlined in the book, what I was going to do, what I was going to become, the cars I was going to have. It just went on and on and on. The cars kind of changed a little bit, but it still was there. Instead of a BMW 6 Series, I bought the Z06, which is funny that it's 6 and 6, right? So it was close, but everything but the boat. Now here's the funny part. I actually looked at her. I said, you know why I haven't bought the boat? And she said, why? I said, because I haven't found a waterfront property yet to dock the boat. So it was about 3 months ago, and I'm still in negotiations with this, that I put an offer in a $2.5 million property in Florida, in right above Tampa, or right below Tampa. I'm sorry, right below Tampa, $2.5 million property with a dock and everything I want, 4.5 acres.
Yeah.
I just have to build the building and buy the boat. Now the crazy part is, I'm buying this $2.5 million property. Ready? How much money out of my pocket?
It better be none.
Of course.
Are you making money? Are you getting paid to buy the property?
Well, here's the interesting part. We don't have all the details yet, but right now on the property, on the front end of the property is a trailer home park.
Mhm.
So while I'm building my house in the back of the property, I'm going to be getting income from the trailer home park that I'm actually going to make a positive cash flow while I'm building my house. And I don't expect to move there for 10 years. That's my goal. So my goal is to have this beautiful riverfront house with a prawn front and all glass prawn front, and have the boat dock right there. But while it's being built and while I'm doing all this, I'm collecting income from the trailer home park, and then eventually knocking the trailer home park down and making it into condos. Also, I can do one thing. What's that? Buy the boat.
Buy the boat. You can. You want to. This is so fascinating. So you wrote your script and then just kind of stepped into character.
I wrote my script a long time ago, and you wrote your script a long time ago too.
Okay.
You can change your script. That's the cool part.
How far out is your script consciously written right now? Because you're 10 years out.
I honestly don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
I just know that if there's something I want, I get it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing. Here's one that's a good example. So I don't know if you've ever heard the story. I now own an ice cream store.
You now own an ice cream store.
I now own an ice cream store. When I was in my 20s, when I was a kid, I always thought it'd be cool to own an ice cream store. When I was in my 20s, I actually said, I'm going to own an ice cream store. And I kind of let the dream go, whatever. So remember I told you about the house I bought, the first subject 2 house, the one with the 2-family house and the pizzeria?
Mm-hmm.
So the pizzeria people left, somebody else moved in, and then they left after 5 years, and this place was empty. And I said to my property manager on that property, I said, if you don't rent this, I'm going to have to turn it into an ice cream store. Now, you do understand that everything out there was rented except for this store. Nobody wanted this store. A couple of false starts, nobody wanted it. Finally, I said December 31st, I said, all right, I'm going to have to turn it into an ice cream store now. And I turned it into a beautiful ice cream store. If you want to, it's actually called the Ice Cream Corner. Check that out, right? So it's on a corner street, a little building on a corner street. The Ice Cream Corner, theicecreamcorner.com was available.
Nice.
Isn't that wild? So this was meant to be. And it was meant to be because when I was a kid, I said I was going to own an ice cream store. And when I was in my 20s, I made it happen. And now I'm making it happen now. And I don't even run it because I don't want to run it. I own the ice cream store. I actually took a student, and I always wanted to be a philanthropist. You want to be a philanthropist?
Do I want to be a philanthropist?
Yeah, you want to help other people, put them into business?
Right, yeah, for sure.
That'd be an awesome thing to do, right? So I always said, I'm going to do this. So I finally said, I was in my class one day, my mastermind, and I said, okay, I'm going to open up an ice cream store. Who wants half of it to run it? And one guy raised his hand. He said, I do. And I said, okay, we'll talk. And we talked about it afterwards. I said, you run this store, you'll get paid a small salary, and you'll own half of it. And when I sell the store, you'll get half. If I sell it early, you get half. If, whatever happens, you get half the profit, whatever. And if we open up more, we'll open them together. So I not only opened an ice cream store, I became a philanthropist. I reached that dream. There's more. I want to do that some more. Matter of fact, I just did it again. So I did it with a note business, and that's another story, but we don't have the time for that. And I'm doing that. I'm also opening more funds. So these are all things that I'm doing. You want to know why? Because I have full confidence. You want to know why? Because I have $100 million in the bank somewhere that I just haven't found.
Of course. Does help you give confidence.
It definitely helps you have confidence.
It's awesome. So, you've been dropping some awesome analogies and stories, and clearly have blown Andrew's mind, which I love. Teaching the young, which is great because education lessons shortens the curve as opposed to going it alone. And Larry's going to be speaking at the 100 Millionaire Summit, so we got to touch on that before we close things out. So, Larry, we definitely want to know, one, why you're excited about speaking at the summit. Two, why you just enjoy being a part of the Alchemist Nation community. And, also just, kind of knowledge you're going to drop on people come the first weekend of November when we all commence on Orlando for the event of the year.
So all of this put together. So the very first thing about Alchemist Nation that I really like is Galter. Yes. I am such a fan of his dream. He wants to build hundreds of millionaires. And I mean, he wants to build 100 millionaires who build 100 millionaires. I love that dream. That is fantastic. In fact, my hat's off to him. He's amazing just because he feels that way. And it's absolutely incredible. I mean, I said I want to do the same thing. I do, but I don't say it the way he says it. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. I already know that I built several millionaires. But the way he says it and the way he approaches it is second to none. So anything I can do to help Alchemist Nation, anything I can do to help Galter, I'm in. He wants me to fly to, I don't care. He wants me to fly to Brazil and do a presentation. I'm in on my dime, and my hotel. I don't care. I'm there to help him because that's how I feel about Galter. That's how I feel about what he's put together here. It's absolutely incredible. The community is an incredible community. In fact, I mean, Investor Schooling has built an incredible community. There's no doubt. But I'm not going to say jealous is the wrong word, but I'm envious of the fact that his community is tighter than my community, and my community is really tight. And it would be awesome to bring both communities together. In fact, I've invited several of people from Investor Schooling to go to the 100 Millionaire Summit because I believe in it. It's that good. And if you're even thinking about going and you haven't got your ticket, just get your ticket. I don't care how you get your ticket. Get your ticket. And if you can't afford it, you know what? If you can't afford it, reach out to me. Seriously. You send me a DM. If you tell me and you really can't afford it, I'll pay for your freaking ticket. That's how much I believe in this. Okay? In fact, if you remember, there was something else that happened. Maybe I'll get into it since I opened my mouth and said it. He had a mastery program, and he was talking about the mastery program. And I got to be honest. I mean, look, I'm a successful real estate investor. I own my own school. I teach this stuff, and he had a mastery program, and Galter asked me to speak. It was great. I did a great job. I was talking about subject 2, and I'll probably mention that also while I'm there. But there was one point at the end, at the last day. Were you there when I stood up and I took out my credit card, Mitch? Right.
Yep.
So I don't need Galter's mastery program. I just don't need it. It's not something that I need. But I'm such a fan of Galter, and I'm so impressed by what he did that I actually stood up from the middle of the audience, and I said, you know what? Because a couple of people asked me. They said, "What do you think of the mastery program?" And I stood up and I said, a couple of people have asked me what I think of the mastery program. I took out my American Express card. I held it up. I said, Dorina, come here. Take my American Express card and pay for my mastery program. That's how much I believe in this program. And I turned to everybody and said, that's how much you guys should believe in this program. If I believe in it, you should believe in it. And that's actually how that was like 2 or 3 hours before the summit ended. And I absolutely believe in it. I thought it was fantastic. And I got to be honest, I haven't had enough time to go through a lot of the things that Galter does in the mastery program. I just don't have time. But even the few short things that I've been on, blows my mind. The guy is brilliant. The people who work with him, like Mitch, are brilliant. Andrew, I've never met you before, but I now know you're brilliant because you have $1 million in the bank.
No, thanks to you, brother. Not me.
Indeed.
So this community is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic community. Did I answer your
Awesome.
question?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
right.
and I feel the same way. This community continues to grow, and it's, just it's people that are looking to grow the pie bigger for everyone, not just,
Absolutely.
themselves. And that's the way to go about it. So, I mean, really, I think, final word is, do you have any kind of specific punchline, mantra, tagline, whatever that you want to leave everybody with to close out this episode?
It's just like I said before. Anything you want is yours, but you have to want it. It can't just be, it'd be kind of neat if I kind of sort of had that. That's not the same thing. If you want it, it's yours.
Yes.
Don't give up on the dream. Just change the details that get you there.
Yes. And the details are key, right? List out the details and then visualize that as if it exists.
Absolutely. Well, you're awesome, Andrew. I thank you for taking the time out to interview me, and thank you, Mitch. I thank you for that. And if anybody wants to reach me, by the way, you can reach me at contactlarry.com. That's contactlarry.com. And the reason I do that is because I have so many things that I do, but you can see them all there. So contactlarry.com is the way to reach me. Yeah, I'll even put that up there. And if I remember how to do it. I think I remember how to do it. Let's see if that'll work.
Cool.
Look at that.
Contactlarry.com. There you go.
There you go. Nice.
So
and simple.
contactlarry.com, and you can reach me there. And if you do, you could actually, if you want to, you can even set up a 15-minute appointment with me for free. Andrew, if you don't set up a 15-minute appointment with me for free,
I know. Well,
I'm going to fire you.
There you go. Get that consult.
We'll do.
Awesome. Larry, this has been awesome. I love the way you pretty much blew Andrew's mind. That was epic. Anyone that wants to get in touch with Larry, like you said, contactlarry.com. And thanks again, man. This has been awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you. Maybe I'll see you Sunday. I'm not sure. On the 52 weeks to wealth.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Saturday. I'll see you then.
Oh, Saturday. Yeah, sorry.
Boom. Weekend Warriors.
There you go.
I love it. Thanks,
All right,
gentlemen. This has been great.
Thanks, guys. Take care.